We got it everywhere, Caroline Fenton. We got preseason football games last night and a ton of fun happening from it, but we did get significant injury news, and that's the biggest story of them all, as Anthony Richardson suffered a dislocated pinky on his throwing hand early in the matchup for the Colts. So this is massive. He was hurt in the sack, as you see there. I want to point out, as smart football minds have been pointing out all morning, the toughest part of this is it was a free runner headed to Anthony Richardson. It was Anthony Richardson's job to see that free runner coming to him. He did not shift the protection. He did not protect himself in this process, and he takes a massive hit. And now, as a result, that injury is staggering. And I am left to feel like, as we sit today, there's almost no chance that Daniel Jones is not the week 1 starter for the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, viewer warning. Gross. Yeah. Your pinky's not supposed to be at a 90-degree angle to the right. And that's what you pointed out. And look, I'm not going to pretend like I am an expert in protections and I'm an expert in, the protections that a quarterback is supposed to pick up on. But like you said, very smart football minds have pointed out and have slowed the tape down and said, look, Anthony Richardson's eyes are facing a receiver whose eyes are downfield. Whereas to the right of Anthony Richardson, there is a running back who is wide open with his eyes locked in on the quarterback. And there is another receiver about 8 yards further downfield whose eyes are facing Anthony Richardson, and they are both wide open and ready for the football. If Anthony Richardson would have picked up the blitz and then he would have been able to see these receivers and he could have gotten the ball out quicker, and then you live to fight for another down. Everything that very smart football minds and former quarterbacks have been saying about this specific play that you're seeing right here is that this is day 1 install stuff, not what's a quarterback who has now been in the league for 2-3 years should be, suffering an injury from. And overall, look, we can nitpick this all day long, we can nitpick this one specific play, but overall, I think the big tale of Anthony Richardson is that in the NFL, your best ability is your availability. And Anthony Richardson has not been available since he entered the NFL. And this is a guy who only had 13 starts coming out of college in his time at Florida. Well, in his rookie season, he was out for 13 games, and then he missed 4 more games last season before being benched for Joe Flacco for the entirety of the season. So what Anthony Richardson needed was reps and to play football, but he cannot play football because he has constantly been set back by injury. Fitz, I fear that Anthony Richardson may just be one of those big what ifs that we have in football. What if Anthony Richardson had a little bit more time to sit the bench and learn to play the game and be able to learn on the sidelines and be a student of the game before he went out there? What if Anthony Richardson never got hurt? What if Anthony Richardson realized all of the athletic potential that he has? We're not going to get that. And that truly, truly upsets me for a guy that felt like, the ceiling was the roof for his potential.
That's the hardest part about all of this, is that he needed time on task and he's never gotten it. And now you just have to wonder, especially because timelines matter. Shane Steichen, the offensive or the head coach of the team, and Chris Ballard, the general manager, there are expectations on them now. And so even if you want to give time on task to Anthony Richardson, I'm not sure the organization can remain patient anymore. And so knowing that you can't really wait around for a player to get the time on task that he so desperately needs, and you're already in year 3 on all of this. And now, if it was a neck and neck quarterback battle, and I've long said I believe that Daniel Jones was going to win this job anyway, but if you buy that it was a neck and neck battle, well, now whether he's out for a week or 2 weeks, there are only 3 preseason games. So the lack of practice reps and preseason reps that he's going to get to really to keep Daniel Jones from taking his job, that becomes significant. I just don't see a clear path that leads to Anthony Richardson being a productive quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, which means somebody else is going to have to take him and maybe hopefully develop him. But if you look at social media today, Colts fans are more excited about Riley Leonard than they are about Anthony Richardson. That says something at this point. The organization, I think, is backed into a corner. So they're going to have to figure out how to make the most out of Daniel Jones. That being said, did you learn anything from the Colts in their preseason outing?
Nothing that I didn't already know, to be totally frank with you. I thought Daniel Jones kind of stunk. Daniel Jones kind of stunk. I don't know if I saw anything from Riley Leonard for Colts fans to be justified in being more excited about Riley Leonard than Anthony Richardson. I think that's when you know how low the bar truly is at the quarterback position. I think one thing maybe that I didn't learn but was confirmed to me is that Tyler Warren is a dog. And now understand, take everything in preseason with a grain of salt. He's going up against the 2s and the 3s, and we've only seen a handful of snaps. He got 3 targets. He had 3 catches for 40 yards. Tyler Warren at Penn State was the ultimate chess piece. When he's on the field, you have to pay attention to him. So I think Tyler Warren is proving, at least in very, very small doses, Fitz, that he can be that kind of offensive weapon that we saw from him at Penn State. That's probably the biggest thing that I learned. Overall, I have 0% more confidence in the Indianapolis Colts today than I did before the game yesterday.
I respect the caution with which you have delivered said take. I respect that a lot. I will say this. If somebody came out and they absolutely stunk in the preseason, we would not have grace. That's just the way the world works. So I'm not going to have caution when somebody comes out and does what they should do, which is dominate lesser opponents. So the fact that he was going up against second and third stringers, I'm still with you. I'll take it.